Novi električni Ford Transit je nastal v novem podjetju, v Ford Pro. In ta Pro pomeni produktivnost. In zdaj, to produktivnost pa so pri Fordu po novem dosegli na digitalen način, s programstko opremo, ki so jo seveda sami zasnovali, ker seveda pravijo, da kot avtomobilisti sami najbolj vejo, katere podatke rabijo iz avtomobila potegniti. Zato, da lahko seveda tranzit vozi kar se da najbolj učinkovito in da se kar se da najbolj učinkovito polni. Kombi v osnovi poznamo, namenoma se ni prav dosti spremenil, pravzaprav so se naravnost trudili, da z električnim pogonom ne bi bil drugačen od dizelskega.
Cubic capacity is exactly the same as a rear-wheel drive diesel, and in order to do that, we had to put the battery underneath the load floor and also design this all-new heavy-duty independent rear suspension, because on the leaf springs they're mounted here, so obviously it's a package clash with the battery. And then in terms of payload, the battery itself weighs around 450 kilos, so you're looking at on a comparable 350 vehicle, just around a ton.
Nekatere evropske države bodo lahko tovorile še dodatnih 700 kilogramov.
In Europe, many countries have got a licensing derogation, which means you can drive on a passenger car license an e-vehicle all the way up to 4.25 ton. So payloads of 1.7 tons normally would only be available on larger Nelly 2 vehicles.
No, mi ne bi radi izpadli negativno, ampak vseeno se nam zdi, da je najmanj relevanten podatek tisti podatek, ki so nam ga dali o VLTP dosegu. In tisti podatek govori, da je 68 kilovatna baterija v tem primeru zadostuje za kar 317 km električnega dosega. Ampak vendarle govorimo o velikanu, o električnem kombiju, ki mora delati v vsakršnih vremenskih pogojih in to polno obtežen. Zato seveda bolj je pomemben tisti podatek, ki so ga pri Fordu izmerili v praksi.
My 100 miles versus your 100 miles can be worlds apart. So our data shows us that the average distance a commercial vehicle driver goes in a day is 111 kilometers. We're targeting to be able to do 160 kilometers reliably for a normal use case. But not just that, to be able to do that in cold climate, fully laden, and also with a 5-year-old battery. But obviously it depends what you're doing with the vehicle, and that's why the data is so important. We've got a cool tool coming on telematics, which will take your litres per 100 kilometres on a diesel vehicle, and then it will work it back and say, for that particular vehicle operating in the conditions that you operate in, it requires 60 kilowatt hours. And then you'll be able to, as a fleet, say, okay, I can change that vehicle to electric and I can't change that one to electric.
Ampak električni pogon bo ponudil tudi nekaj novih poslovnih priložnosti, namreč delo kar znotraj dvorane. Da bi si zagotovili lastno električno energijo za svoje stroje, podjetnikom ne bo več treba ropotati z generatorji. This power is from the same battery that the vehicle uses for
propulsion. Yeah, exactly. So the more energy you take out to power tools, the less energy you'll have for range. So if you think about a power saw, you're only reaching the peak power right in the center of the cut. So even if you have a table saw plugged in all day, you're hardly using any power really from a whole day's worth of sawing. So it's nothing really. Mm-hmm. Obviously things like high power spotlights, so if you're running that the whole day, but still 2.3 kilowatts of continuous power is over 30 hours. You still have 100 kilometers and 15 hours worth of continuous draw from this system. And because the power is pure sine wave, you can plug in really sensitive electronic, which you wouldn't be able to do with a generator.
Čas je, da spregovorimo o v uvodu omenjeni digitalni plati. Čas je, da po internetu spustimo naše podatke.
Traditionally, fleet managers have reacted to problems when things go wrong. what we want is the fleet manager to look at the vehicle health information, proactively monitor it, and then maintain the vehicle when needed, right? And that's a big change. Well, that's the first piece of connectivity. The second piece of data connectivity is that flow of information to our dealers. So again, traditionally, and the vehicle would arrive and then the dealer would try to resolve the problem potentially. Now with connected vehicle data coming through the vehicle and the software, we can see trouble codes on the vehicle, maintenance that needs to happen on the vehicle before the vehicle arrives. The very third piece, if I can go on, so when a vehicle arrives into the workshop, we see it, and then we know when it's repaired. And if it's taking too long, our Ford Live agents phone the dealership up, inquire about it, find out what's wrong, and help that dealer get the vehicle back on the road. We're now proactively monitoring our dealers, Big Brother sort of style, and intervening, right? Instead of letting these repairs go on for too long.
No, tega velikega brata so naročila kar podjetja, Fordovi kupci.
January, February, March, we believe we've saved 66,000 days, and our target is to save 200,000 days for the full year.
Torej cilj je, da se Fordovi kombiji ves čas vozijo po cestah. V Veliki Britaniji se zato naokoli vozijo tudi Fordovi serviserji, ampak ne zaradi urgence.
If we can send a mobile service van to the depot and do 3 or 4 vehicles all at once maybe, then we kind of have efficiencies there. And what we found from our customers in the UK, they love the convenience of it, right? Somebody going to them instead of them going to our dealership is a shift change in convenience for our customers.
Can you be more specific? What can a dealer see in the van?
So there are about 4,000 different trouble codes that the vehicle can tell us about. You know, everything from engine issues through to electrical problems. They all can flash up and they have a description of what they are. But not only for the point in time that the customer believes they have an issue with potentially, it goes back over 60 days. Things like intermittent faults where it's really difficult to identify it. We now have that log of all those issues going backwards, so the dealer can now find that intermittent fault more easily. How it happened in the beginning, we'll leave that to the fleet manager to deal with.
To pa nas pripelje do internega velikega brata, namreč ti podatki so na voljo tudi lastnikom. How far can you go with collecting the data?
You have the ability to switch off data when the driver is maybe driving to a personal address or doesn't want to be tracked because they're not necessarily doing something specifically for the business at that point in time. We've heard that from other people say, you know, can the driver switch off the data? But, you know, they can do that, but they would need to contact the fleet manager because ultimately they're at work. At the end of the day, what we're trying to do, there's actually a driver score. So the driver score looks at driver's behavior maybe over a month period. And what it does is averages, you know, how many speeding events, harsh acceleration, braking, you know, maybe they haven't been wearing their seatbelts, how efficiently they're driving the vehicles, even looking at things as small as idle time. How much money is that costing you? We actually show that. And so you can gather that data and you start to see a picture. So you're not going to assess them on every single day, but over a period of time, you can see the drivers that, you know, need some support to drive a little bit better.
Fordova aplikacija kljub vsemu ni samo zaščita lastnika, ampak tudi korist za tiste trenutke, ko uslužbenci samo skomigajo z rameni, le kdo je bil tisti, ki je naredil prasko. Sistem namreč podjetjem omogoča tudi stalen fotonadzor stanja vozila.
Customer that spoke to me, he said, I tell my drivers, you know, tell me if there's something wrong with the vehicle. He said they don't do it. You know, I have to keep chasing them. And then weeks go by, things go wrong with the vehicle that could have been resolved quicker, and they haven't told me.
Zagotovo bodo to aplikacijo želeli tudi lastniki Fordovih osebnih službenih vozil in čeprav je Fordova, deluje tudi v kombinaciji z vozili drugih znamk in ja, je na prodaj tudi posebej, brez Fordovega vozila. No, za konec naj vam pokažemo še Fordovo prihodnost. Novi manjši kombi serije Custom. Po novem je ta narejen skupaj s Volkswagenom, kar gledate, tehnično ni samo novi Ford, ampak tudi prihodnji transporter. So pa pri Fordu potrdili, da se bosta kombija vizualno bolj razlikovala. Ne bosta pa izključno baterijska. Tudi dizelni in hibrid bosta še na voljo.
pa bivalnik tudi, tisti klasični nugget, v kakršnem smo prenočili blizu Nürburgringa. Kliknite in poglejte.